you both recording?
Yeah.
Bloody well hope so.
Good. Hello, you are listening to Off Radar with me, James Smith.
Me, Neil Brock.
And me, James Eatock.
It's a movie podcast.
We can do characters that fly and shoot laser beams and do woo.
Beneath all of that, it's all about friendship.
Playing the drums until his hands are bleeding.
Each week, one of us picks a movie that all three of us either haven't seen in many years or in some cases haven't seen at all.
We each head off and watch the chosen movie, return to the microphone, then waffle about it for your listening pleasure.
Furthermore, if you want to join in and suggest a movie for us to watch, why not tweet us at Off-Radar Podcast or email us on offradarpod@gmail.com.
If you like what you hear, please subscribe, share and review. It really helps getting the pod out there. For now, strap in, turn the volume up and let's go Off Radar.
I think you need to turn off Eatock's camera already.
So here we are again on Off Radar and joined by James Eatock.
Oh, hello.
Dramatic pause. And Neil Brock.
Why, hello.
AKA
Nige.
Cool Nige. And this week we are talking about Mr. Nobody. Now, this is a film that I chose for us to watch. I saw it a long time ago. I couldn't really remember it, but I just remembered I liked it. And that's why I chose it. And I kind of really wanted you guys to see it. And you guys, neither of you guys have seen it, right?
Correct. I had not seen it prior to you recommending it for this podcast.
So it's a weird one because at the time it was going to kind of get tipped to be a massive film, but it just absolutely bombed at the box office, but got really amazing critical acclaim. To give a very, very kind of brief synopsis for anyone who hasn't seen it, the film,
good luck with this.
Yeah. So it tells the story of an old bloke called Nemo. He's 118-year-old and he's the last mortal on Earth after immortality is worked out. And it's basically the story of him kind of recalling his life, and we see it through his eyes. He's being interviewed in the future in 2050 something. We see his life through different kind of aspects of what branches, like what could have happened, like a sliding doors moment, if you like. And the biggest point is when he's made to choose whether he should live with his mum or dad.
Nemo!
And that is like the kind of ultimate branch, if you like, of which way his life goes. And then also we see other branches, I'll keep using that, at the age of 9, 15, 30, and we see all these different moments. And I found it fascinating. I found it so interesting that a film like this could keep me totally kind of engaged in what is really quite a complicated concept, yet have some real amazing character development with the same characters almost playing different roles of themselves.
We cannot go back. That's why it's hard to choose. You have to make the right choice. As long as you don't choose, everything remains possible.
It's directed by Jaco Van Dormael, who is unknown Belgium director. He wrote and directed it. But, you know, he's got quite a big cast for a film that no one's really heard of. Jared Leto, Sarah Polley, Diane Kruger. And it kind of like, it really makes you kind of think about the choices he's making, why he's made them. But then after the film, like, kind of like you start thinking personally about the choices you make in life and what way they go.
We don't know who Mr. Nobody is. Neither does he. Our patient's memories are confused. But it is not unusual at a certain stage of illness for very old memories to re-emerge in great detail.
I felt like some aspects personally were not needed. I didn't love the futuristic element. I'm not sure if that was needed at all personally. You know, I think that actually it could have been a much better film had they ditched that whole idea and just had it, with those options. I really enjoyed the cinematography and the sound design and the music. I thought all that was just incredible.
1, 2. Remember the day you came here.
You can kind of break it down really simplistically by saying it's basically one man's journey through life, just shown via multiple different sort of universes or outcomes or whatever you want to call it, dimensions, I suppose, in the sense of the butterfly effect, the sliding doors moments, different sort of avenues his life went down. I think for me I felt it was done in sort of an almost like an overly complex way, and perhaps a slightly pretentious way in how they wanted to present that. I think it could have been a lot more simple. But obviously, as you say, there were certain elements where it kind of tried to push the boundaries a little bit in terms of the story it was trying to tell, the way it was trying to tell it. Like at one point he's sort of sleeping with his sister and falls in love with her, although it's not his biological sister. There's like a recurring theme about swimming and sort of his character in a couple of situations he gets shot in a bath, he drowns in a car, that kind of thing. But I think personally, I just found it a struggle to get through it. I found it very similar to Cloud Atlas. I don't know if either of you have seen that, which is another sort of very sort of complicated, quite heavy film. And whilst I love sort of Sarah Polley and Jared Leto and like the idea, there was a lot to like about it. I just felt like it was a bit up his own arse, the film, for me.
Nice.
I struggled with it. I did struggle with it. Go on, Ethan.
I will interject. My first words, this is no lie, on my notes, just say, this film is up its own arse. I'll start off with the positives, which were very brief. Rhys Ifans, loved him. Rhys
his dad,
I thought was really... Visually, film was fucking gorgeous. Really fantastic. Some of the cinematography, the shots, the juxtaposition, all this stuff, it was fucking great. But I fucking hated this movie. I thought it was like, again, I wrote tedious and pretentious. Now bear in mind, Smith, this is no reflection on Smith likes it, what's wrong with him, he needs
absolutely
he needs to go to a mental home or something. But I just thought this was a student film that someone had made in like a college or university, but with a $3,600 something million budget. It was so pretentious. It took the ideas of a bunch of other films that did it better, like Eternal Sunshine, Spotless Mind, Sliding fucking Doors, which, how can Sliding Doors be better than this movie? This movie's got, like, Jared Leto. Obviously, Sliding Doors had that the actor we can never remember, the bloke, and obviously the great Gwyneth Paltrow. But a romantic comedy had me more drawn into the possibilities of what if, because, as you both pointed out, this film was so unnecessarily overly complicated. But Smith, I think you brought up something that I didn't consider, and I made a note of it as you said it. The thing that really bugged me, and like you say, I don't think it was necessary, was the whole future thing. The future thing was
it was
that's the
definitely
like it was the whole thing of like, oh, we've eliminated. I understand from like a book ending this story, but it was so unnecessary.
Each of these lives is the right one. Every path is the right path.
The aspects of it where you had Jared Leto like explaining the Big Bang and certain other it's like, I get that maybe kids are watching this film and they don't know what that is, but for anybody, an adult watching, it's like, why am I found the film at times really condescending, and like I say again, beautifully shot, beautifully. I think Jared Leto he's always going to get a bit of a bad rep, but he's a fucking great actor, and he puts everything into his roles. So I really like him and stuff. And I did like the actors, like the young Jared Leto. I thought he played his role.
Yeah,
even the kid
fantastic.
one as well. The kid one and the teenager one especially.
Yeah.
Played their roles perfectly, as did elder or current Jared Leto. But yeah, I just felt that this film was like, it borrowed all the good stuff from other films and just tried to do, what was it, like 2.5 hours?
Yeah, it felt very long.
It felt much longer. I was like, this is the longest afternoon of my life. Smith owes me like a good couple of drinks out of this.
But you did watch 3 films today.
I did.
To be fair, like me and my wife, we watched it. She didn't mind it so much, but and I never do this. I said, look, we have to stop and come back to this tomorrow because I just can't handle watching any more of this film tonight.
It was a hard. The other thing I had with it is because it was so grandiose, I didn't feel that I had any this is going to sound so wanky. I didn't have any connection to these characters. It was asking me to invest in. I've got nothing about these characters. He's an old dude who's lived all this life, and he's in the future, and there's all these different versions and sliding doors things. But there was one line in it when I was watching this film. I guess it was like 40 minutes into it, and I made a note of it because I was like, oh, I don't know if this is the director like breaking the fourth wall and winking at the audience, crossing the proscenium arch. But there's a line with it's elder Jared Leto, and he says he's talking about like when he's been interviewed by who's the Cockney actor who's interviewing him? He was in Life on Mars and stuff like that. I forget. No, Ashes to Ashes. He was in. What's his name? He's like the Danny Dyer wannabe. Anyway, he's interviewing him, and he's like, "What was it like in the old days and stuff?" And then at one point he says, "Oh yeah," he says, "What was it like back then?" And Jared Leto, as an old man, goes, "Most of the time, nothing happened. Like a French movie." And I was like, no, like this fucking movie. This has been going on 40 fucking minutes, and it's just an old bloke going, these are possible lives I had. And then at the end of the film, it's got the audacity to suggest that, the moment he makes the realization in his youth of what his life could be, which is kind of beautiful, but at the same time so fucking late in the movie. This could have happened an hour sooner. You suddenly go, oh, that's the moment when the universe stops expanding and begins retracting. It's like, this movie thinks it's the fucking universe. It's really not. This movie is a piece of bubblegum on my boot through the movie.
Yeah, you see, I disagree. Sorry. But
well, a lot of people do. Like, there was when it was showed at the Berlin Film Festival, it got a 10-minute standing ovation. On IMDb, it's got a very high, I think it got like the Golden Lion or something.
Sorry, I don't understand. Did you stay with your father or go with your mother?
Remember.
I saw it a long time ago. I liked it at the time. I kind of wanted to revisit it. I take on board quite a lot of what you said, and I agree. I feel it definitely could have been simpler. The whole futuristic thing was nonsense. But maybe it's the kind of, those layers to it that I enjoyed. I personally felt really invested, especially with the teenager kind of story, and like for that, seeing them kind of branch off.
For as much as Anna and Nemo have consented together in holy wedlock, for as much as Elise and Nemo,
Jean and Nemo have joined themselves to each other.
Everything that you say is contradictory.
I liked all the little touches, and I think the cinematography, like there's some scenes, and you're right, it is pretentious, but like there's a scene where helicopters are like dropping huge chunks into the sea. I feel like it wasn't as good as I remembered, and it probably could have been better, but I do disagree. I don't think it's a bad film at all, and I afterwards I was like, I had to sit there and think for 20 minutes about it, and maybe it's because I've seen it twice. Maybe I got more of it the second time. But I liked the little homages to Back to the Future with, Mr. Sandman playing, and I liked the kind of Truman Show kind of aspect. Maybe that's my kind of love of film kind of shining through it. And the chaos theory I found like just interesting, like the way it's trying to do that.
The bit I disagree about the characters is the moment you're going, okay, now we're invested. Oh, now we're over here. Now we're in an old man again, sitting in a chair babbling on, and it's like, okay, well, let's stick with the old man for 5 minutes. Oh no, now we're with the garish TV presenter. It jumped around too much. Like you say, I think this film could have done with being an hour and a half and a damn sight simpler. And I think that was the problem Cloud Atlas made. It's like, let's jump around like motherfuckers. And and that, I think Cloud Atlas was supremely pretentious, but I don't know, man. I trust me, I wanted to like this movie because it's like I say, I don't have any love lost for Jared Leto, but he's a good actor, and usually when he's in a film, it's you guaranteed that he's looked at the script and you're like, oh, this is going to be great. But I just found this film was full of ideas that it kind of borrowed from other films, and just it's something that someone's read a book about the universe and life and gone, I'm going to make a film about this. It's like, you don't have to, Truman Show, like you said, Truman Show's already done it, Sliding Doors did it, and it's frankly the best film they ever made. But But yeah, I don't know, man. It's everybody's entitled to like their movies and stuff. It's about time we disagreed on this fucking podcast, for Christ's sake.
Well, I think this is it. Like, we're not trying to attack your opinion.
Yes,
on this.
we are.
What I'd love.
Fucking, I'm done.
No, what I'd absolutely love for people listening to this who haven't seen it to go away and watch it and give their opinion.
Yeah,
because obviously,
absolutely.
I think this is a Marmite film. Some people are going to hate it. Some people love it. I mean, it's been on my like wish list to watch for a very long time on IMDb. And Smith, when you said this is the film I picked, I was like, oh, finally, it gives me a reason to go and watch this, because it's got like, I think it's IMDb rating something silly, like 7.4, 7.8, something really high. And Sarah Polley, I absolutely love. Leto, yeah, absolutely. Really looking forward to it. But just got so bogged down in it. And just, yeah, for me, there were nice little moments, as you mentioned, like the sort of teenage era of his sort of the story there. But some of it's just like, when some of the kind of stories sort of came back and it's like, now you're going to find out more about this story, I was like, you know what, I just don't care. This aspect I just don't care about. And like, even like his perfect scenario of what happened with his life before he gets to his old age, I was just like, oh, this is bollocks. It just, for me, I wasn't, and I don't want to say too much about what all those different things were, but it just felt like a lot of films had done something very similar. And I guess for me, like something like Run Lola Run, for instance, whereby you've kind of got a character who makes different choices and how it affects. Like that for me, like, I mean, that's a really kind of short film. I think it's like 70 or 80 minutes long, and it's really fast paced, and it's pretty straightforward. You get one story at a time. It's not jumping all over the place. That I absolutely loved. This had some ideas I loved, but there was just interjected with stuff that I just, like Etox said, the stuff about the universe, some of the actual, I guess, storylines / lives that he lived, and certainly the futuristic element. And to be honest, watching Cloud Atlas, I absolutely hated Cloud Atlas, and that's exactly the same in the sense of there's a lot of people who will die on that sort of platform of being, I love this film.
Well,
and
yeah,
again,
it's strange because I
average
absolutely hated Cloud Atlas as well. So
we won't make you go and watch that for next time.
It's a weird one because I kind of understand and take all of your points. But something just resonated with me for this, and
I get it. Like, that's what films are. Films sometimes speak to us in different ways, and there are people, I can't believe I'm about to say this, that think Rocky movies are a pile of shit.
What?
Well, no, and like let's
I
talk.
don't believe you.
Like
that's a lie.
The first Rocky movie, as we've said, is so different to what people think. But there are people that just go, they're lame boxing movies. But it's, I guess, certain films you form an attachment with. That's what life is, and you formed an attachment with this movie. You really enjoyed it, and it's like, awesome, man, go for it. But maybe I got it at the wrong time in life. Maybe I wasn't feeling particularly deep
after watching 6 hours of films.
6 hours.
You're going to save the most complex and long one for last.
I'll end my review, as it were, on a positive. Visually beautiful.
And that's it. Like, for me, what was I going to say? You've just completely thrown me off there. I think with this film, obviously, we can go on about sort of all the positives, all the negatives. I think the best thing about this podcast series too is the fact we're going to have more of these. We're going to have opinions where we're going to have films where we do disagree, and I think it's a good thing. It's not an attack on someone's taste. As I said, this film is totally Marmite. There's going to be people who are listening to this thinking, those two, they're idiots. They don't understand quality filmmaking. They don't understand how to tell a good narrative, yada, yada, yada.
I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid I haven't been alive enough.
Yeah, if we're going to give it a score, for me...
Go on, Nige.
I don't tend to give like ridiculously low scores unless I hate something, and this I'd give a 3 because I pretty much hated it.
Jeez.
So I'm sorry, but that was it for me.
Yeah, I'm good at. I'm like, we're allowed to do halves, aren't we? 2.5. There you go.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Well, yeah, it's tricky. I would give that a 7.
Okay. Yeah.
Who are you? I'm Mr. Nobody, a man who doesn't exist.
Well, there we go. That one didn't go according to plan, did it? But look, I mean, surely someone agrees with me that Mr. Nobody's a good film. So if you do, or even if you don't, why don't you email us on offradarpod@gmail.com, tweet us at offradarpodcast, and let us know what you think of it. And in fact, any of the films we've reviewed so far, it'd be great to see what you guys are making of our opinions, as, film is so subjective. Next week, we are talking about Witness. That's right, the 1985 film directed by Peter Weir, starring Harrison Ford. So be sure to watch it, check it out, and tune in next week. And we'll see you next time on Off Radar.